but people that are supportive and that actually say good words, kind words, are strangers.
Yeah.
And I've had so numerous messages saying, "Oh wow, like thank you so much." And just like hearing my voice, sometimes people will be like, "Oh wow, it's quite like it's a different perspective." It makes so much difference in people's life. It's like creating an impact.
It does, yeah. That's the biggest thing.
It's amazing. And you have no idea how many people you're hitting.
Yeah. It's the people that you least expected, huh?
Yeah.
Have we started, by the way?
It's rolling.
Oh my God.
I
didn't realize. I was like, oh.
I didn't realize. I did hear the clap. Normally he claps and then gives you the cue, but
we're recording. It's happening.
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's like more authentic.
I hate when the cameras are on. It happened with obviously Raj Samal as well. Cameras came on, and I'm not slating the guy, but
he might be listening.
If you're listening, I doubt it. It was so different. Like he was a different person as soon as he heard. Like it's rolling.
Yeah.
Man just came out of like this
he
was like, normal, no energy and stuff like that. Yeah. And then as soon as he heard that click,
that was it.
And then he just like switched on.
Yeah, I think it's kind of conditioned to be that way as well. Like being in that industry. Like,
you could tell that he's an actor.
Yeah. I mean, that's what made him big. So good on him. You're a great actor.
It's always good like listening to these people, obviously. Like Vijay Lama as well. He's Captain Vijay Lama. He's quite energetic person as well. Yeah,
because when I told my mum about Raja Samal, she was like, obviously that's a big deal. And then she mentioned about Vijay Lama, and he's like that's even a bigger deal.
Yeah,
like,
for me,
he's like the biggest deal.
He was, and that was a strange interview in that sense that it was like 6 a.m. So we started at 6 a.m.
That's commitment.
Yeah, and he was flying the same day, so he was supposed to go to Japan. I think he was flying,
wow.
And he said, "Do you want to come for an interview?" Well, I pestered him for like almost 2 weeks. I think I was calling him every single day saying, "Let's do it.
It's me again."
Yeah, I did that. Literally, I did that. And then he's like
persistence.
And he said no like a couple of times.
Did he?
Yeah. And then I just went. I just said, "Look, happy." It was Dasai time as well. I said, "Happy Dasai. How you doing there? You good?" And he's like, "What do you want?" Yeah. Like, look, I've told you before. Let's do it.
Yeah.
No. Okay. He didn't say no, obviously.
But was like, my schedule's busy.
He's like, yeah, I'm busy. I don't know where we can fit in. I'm recording songs, and he's doing that. Like, he was, I think, recording songs and stuff as well. So I said, let's just do it. It doesn't matter what it is. So he said, look, I've got a slot in the morning. I'm gonna be in the gym. So that's what he was wearing, his gym outfit. I said, it doesn't matter, man.
Yeah.
So let's just do it.
As long as you were there, I don't care what you're
wearing. Because I already had that in my mind, saying I'm gonna interview this person. So if I don't care the quality. I do care about the quality, obviously, but I want to make sure that it happens.
It's the content, yeah.
It's the content. It will happen as well. Like it's a flow, right?
It is, yeah.
And it just flows.
Yeah, and I think it's persistence as well, isn't it? Like you could have, after he said no the second time, you could have been like, well, that's not happening. Yeah. But it's like in your head, you've already like it's like manifesting it.
Definitely manifested it. I wrote all everyone's names as well on the book as well. So that's for me, like we talk about manifestation in a bit.
Yeah,
I'm a firm believer of that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was so good. Like when you get stuff done that you've planned, the feeling of success. Obviously, like the content wise, you're gonna get that out anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But your personal success is so amazing. It's like, man, I set that goal to do, and then I've done it now. It's just a beautiful thing.
I think it's the feeling you get after you finish recording. It's like, I don't know if you feel the same way. Like when I did mine, it's like you get kind of buzz, and it's like you connect to them on a different level. It's like you wouldn't have had that conversation if it wasn't for this podcast thing you had going on. And like, yes, it helps. This recording is helping other people, but it's what you gained from it. Yeah. And I'm sure, hopefully, he gained something great from it as well.
And Vijay actually rang me. And he wasn't, the lighting was all like bad.
Like upstairs. It was like outdoors, wasn't it?
It was so bad. And he was telling, just before we started recording, he said, the lighting's going to be bad. Don't do it here.
Yeah.
And my guys, the cousins that I went with, they're like, nah, man, it's fine. It's like, still got like 45 minutes for the sun to like change angles and stuff like that.
He knew about
and then sun. As the interview is going on, I could feel the sun just literally just hit my face. And at one point, I'm like, I couldn't see. The glare was too much. Yeah. And I knew that we messed up, like video-wise.
Yeah. But did you catch a nice tan though?
It was, I still got a tan from that.
That's a win.
Yeah. And then he said, like, in between the interviews, like, I told you it was going to happen.
He predicted it.
Yeah, he did. He knew that. He's done that 100 times. Yeah, so he was like, look, it is going to happen.
Told you.
And then he rang me later on. He said, I did say the video was going to be bad, but he was so surprised with the content. He rang me, said, oh wow, that I didn't think it came out that well.
Yeah.
And I think he was talking about his like organization and stuff and helping people in the UK as well, Nyanopan or something, and he was talking about that. And then he was so chuffed. And I'd never thought like Vijay Lama is going to call me. And he was on just about to fly. So I was inside the cockpit. So I could see the thing. He's like, look where I am. Yeah, he faced it. He rang me on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
He's like, look where I am. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, this is inside the plane, man.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And it's also the fact that he went out of his way to drop you that comment, because he could have just thought it and not told you. But it was actually... it was a great conversation.
It's an amazing compliment as well.
And I think this goes back to what you said earlier on. Like, so many people have good things and they think good things, but they don't vocalize it. Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
Why wouldn't you vocalize it, right?
I think it's the fear of being misunderstood. That's one thing that I used to fear a lot. I still fear that. And then, but people fear that more than anything in life, I think, being misunderstood. They want to say something, but what if the person that they are saying or passing the message on to, if they're not being understood properly? That's a big thing, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
It's quite hard to actually overcome that as well. So every time you say something, you're now extra careful because you have no idea how they're gonna understand you.
That's true, and I think that actually holds back a lot of people because they are more worried about what others are gonna think more than how you're gonna feel. Yeah. So if you're gonna say something and it's gonna make you feel good, I know it's easier said than done, but it's like, who cares what they think, you know? Yeah. But I think it's also that fear, like how are you going to be perceived, and
it's all about
that's what makes people tiptoe around in life in general, because they're more concerned about the outcome and what people are going to say.
Yeah, at all times.
Yeah.
It happened to me when I was starting this as well. Just giving an example, like I had no previous background doing podcasting, journalism, nothing like that. So you start and you have a passion that you want to start up with. So episode 1, I'm like, this just happened within 7 days, I think.
Oh, really?
I woke up one day, I'm like, I was planning this forever in my head, but I'm like, who's going to actually listen to this? What impact am I going to create? So these were the questions that was ongoing in my head for almost like 6 months, 7 months. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I woke up, I had this urge that I never had. So I
it's like something within you that was like,
I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I've got camera, I've got microphone. I could buy that on Amazon. You'll come tomorrow. Like, what's stopping me? What is exactly stopping me? And then I actually went down, and it's like a self-reflection.
Yeah.
Realized that it was fear of not being either accepted or people validation kind of and stuff.
Judgement.
Like, who's gonna say what was stopping me?
Yeah.
And when I decided, I texted Sharan. You met him, and I said, bro, I'm gonna do a podcast with you.
Yeah.
Because I want to be comfortable when I do this. Because I have no idea like how this is going to pan out. And then, but I still wanted to challenge myself. So I texted Shreya. She was our first guest as well.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw that.
Yeah, and then I said, Shreya, do you want to do this? And she was nervous, like she's never done it as well. And she's like, okay, let's just try it and see how it goes. So we traveled from Reading all the way to Manchester to pick her up.
Because you wanted to do it in person.
Because I wanted to do it in person. And then because she lives in Manchester. But we didn't pick Manchester as location. We went to Liverpool. Because there was a sponsor that we found on the first one. And he's like, yeah, just come to our restaurant in Sultan's Palace. So we went to Liverpool and actually did it there. I would have never thought, like, if I said, I'm going to plan here, this, if it was too much planning as well, at times, it ruins everything.
It does.
I just went with the flow. Yeah. And it worked out okay. Yeah. Like, it was good. Like, I got it out of the system.
Yeah.
I didn't edit the whole show as well because it was too long. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I just chucked it out there. I was like, you know what? This is what it is.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? I got good reviews saying, okay, pretty good. Length was a bit long.
Yeah.
The audio was out of sync as well towards the end. I said, fine, we can fix those.
We live and we learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this was, if I'd never got that out, I would have never got the second one out, third, fourth. And now we're like, this is the 15th one, which is beautiful. It's a good number. It is a massive number for me. Yeah. Personally, it is a big achievement.
It's a big milestone. Yeah. And I think you're right. Sometimes it's the first one that's the hardest. Yeah. And like once you overcome the first one, like you said, like you're open to get that feedback and you're open to learning, and that's how you evolve and that's how you improve over time. But a lot of people that I talk to have had similar ideas, and they think about it for 6 months and a year, and they're like, oh, I should do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. But like why not? Why aren't you doing it then? Like, what's stopping you? And I think most times it's you're stopping yourself more than anything, because like your friend was supportive, like I'm sure your family, loved ones are always going to be supportive, and the right people will rally around you. And that's what I've learned from my journey as well. Like, there is always that what ifs and fear. That I think fear is a good thing to a certain extent, because from a Humanity and Sapiens, the book that I read, talks about fear is there to protect us from danger. Back in caveman days, fear is what helped us survive. If there was a lion coming your way, fear is what protected you, and fear is good. But at this day and age, like, fear is good to a certain extent, but once it overtakes your day to day and like it's stopping you from being who you are, that's when it's not healthy, right? And it takes a lot to have that self-awareness as well, like around fear. And I think that is, people say the opposite of love is hate, but actually the opposite of love is fear. Every single negative emotion that you can think of, if you really boil it down to the core of it, it stems from fear. It's the fear of, am I going to be liked? It's the fear of, am I going to be alone for the rest of my life? It's the fear of, I'm always behind. Like, my friends are doing so well. Why am I, not? It's the fear of being accepted. And I think that also goes back to like animal kingdom and caveman days. Like, we always want to belong in a tribe. And it's the fear of like feeling like an outsider that stops people from doing what they want to do. But I think going back to your podcast, like, and also for me as well on my journey, like, the fear is there, but you can quieten it down and go for it anyway. And before you know it, that you can start turning that dial down. And it's always going to be there. Like, all the successful people that are successful today, like all the celebrities, all these big people that you speak to, they have fear as well. But I think over time you learn to cope with it, because the outcome overpowers the fear in the first place. It's the reward that you get when you do get on the other side of fear, right?
And I think that's what we don't see, the bigger picture as well. When we get started, if we always had this goal and picture in front of us,
the best case,
then fear would naturally, as you said, dial down. It does happen. It's like building muscle memory kind of thing. It will happen over time, but having that bigger picture and working towards that, you're gonna encounter problems, failures every single moment, every single day. Of course, like, it's gonna happen. But if you believe that these are steps, right? And like, it could be steps. It could be like, as you said, it could be goals. It could be purpose. Depends what your vision is. If you're working towards that and you know that you're gonna get there, regardless of all of these little steps, missteps, then it is gonna happen, right?
It will, for sure. And it's funny because I had a chat with two of my friends yesterday, Saki and Kane, and we were talking about how like life just feels like one long checklist, right? So you grow up and then you go to school, you get good grades, and you go to uni, and like it's like a tick, 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 like, oh, find someone, you get a mortgage. Like, it just feels like a one big checklist. Because when I was at uni, I thought like, oh my God, once I graduate and I get a job, that's it, my life is sorted. And then you start your job and there's like, you want to climb the corporate ladder, all of this kind of stuff. And then people might look at me and my peers and be like, oh, they've made it in life and they don't have to worry about anything. And then behind the scenes, like, there's always something to work towards. Like you said, there's always that bigger picture. And it's kind of, firstly, I think it's being aware of the fact that you are working towards something bigger. And secondly, it's like, as long as you're doing something, every action is leading to a future you that's going to be grateful for you in the future, right? So doing something that your future self is going to thank you for, and just realizing that yes, it is one long checklist, but it's not about the final destination, right? It's about the journey. I say this all the time.
And you don't have to tick every box as well. It's actually a good name for the podcast as well.
It is.
I've just thought
life is one big checklist,
or is life one big checklist? Yeah, that's actually a good name for it.
And then you can also add an extra spin and be like, but you can create your own checklist as well. You know, so you're in power of, you can either follow a checklist that society has put forward for you, or you can craft your own checklist.
I really like that.
It's kind of like what you're doing as well.
I'm just thinking at the moment.
Yeah, he's already thinking about the title.
No, I'm thinking about the concept.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a big check.
It is one big checklist, but who decides what milestones you put in that checklist? You do. You decide what milestones you want to hit.
Yeah.
Someone's milestone could be get a house, but someone else's milestone could be quit my job, travel around the world for a year. That's your checklist. So we need to appreciate each other's checklists as well. This is like the Virgo in me, because I like having like to-do lists and like have things organized.
Oh man, I'm the other side.
Are you?
Piscean.
Are you Pisces?
Yeah.
Are you Pisces?
Yeah.
No way. All of my closest people in my life are Pisces. My boyfriend, 2 of my closest friends, my aunties, they're all February babies. So I feel like Virgos and Pisces.
We're the one.
We're the one. I mean, you're talking to a Virgo right now, so I can't support you on that statement.
No. But man, that is such a nice thing. I think that we get. It's like someone hands us a checklist when we're born.
Yeah,
they're like, look, this is a checklist.
This is what you do. This
is what you got to do, right? This
Go
is
off.
like, and it's age-wise as well. Like it's based on age. Like certain age, you got to do this. But you could add your own points within that checklist. Okay, the checklist is something maybe you can't erase it, but maybe you can add stuff within the checklist, which is, I like that. Love that thinking.
And maybe you mess up in life. So it's like, well, that checklist is out the window. Let me craft a new one. Yeah. I think it's like an ongoing thing as well. It's
reprint
it, recycle, sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have the power to create your checklist as well. Yeah.
That's a very
deep
thought. I love that.
Create your own checklist.
Yeah, create your own.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Journaling and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And checklists are goals as well. If you look at it in a sense that people don't set goals, right?
No.
The ambition is something that people don't really work towards. I think they're just doing like these daily routines, it's just daily habits, and it's hard to actually. Self-reflection is one of the hardest thing to do.
100%.
To look at you and critique yourself.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
I think it also it's like kind of putting your ego aside.
Yeah.
And I think recognizing your ego is the biggest step to really like think of yourself beyond just your title at work or family or money, how much money you've got, what car you drive. It takes a lot of kind of self-reflection to recognize that first you have an ego and putting that aside to really like question yourself of, you know, what am I doing? Like, what's working, what's not working? Like, I've read a book called The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about it's the ego that causes conflict in human beings. Like, everyone's got an ego, right? You've got an ego as a parent, you've got an ego as someone at work. But if you recognize your ego, that's the biggest step to like realizing that we're all the same, like regardless of your race, your background. Everyone wants to be accepted, everyone wants to be loved. So it's actually kind of recognizing that ego. And especially in situations when, like, I think I've started doing this. I'm not saying I'm like this master Buddhist person that like, you know, I've recognized I've mastered life, but when you're in conflict with someone at work or with your loved ones, and the natural reaction is to like snap back and send a snarky comment or something. Flowers just falling down. But then I'm like, actually, is that me thinking that, or is that my ego thinking that? Is that my ego being hurt, right? As soon as I remove myself from I am this, I am that, it's like removing myself, like detaching myself from the ego, and then recognizing that, no, I don't need to react that way. Like, it's my ego thinking that way, right? So,
love that.
Yeah.
Again, big point. I'm a big follower of the guy as well.
Eckhart Tolle, yeah, he's a legend, isn't he?
Power of Now.
Power of Now. I think that book kind of changed
definitely a big book to read as well. But
heavy.
Yeah, ego. I think out of all the things in life, ego is the worst one. Ego is the biggest enemy.
It is.
Personally,
yeah,
and for everyone, but not a lot of people are aware what ego is.
Yeah,
people think ego is like
saying like me.
It's not all that either. Ego is an identity you're carrying.
It is.
So I am Nepali, I am British,
I work here,
I am an engineer, I have this car, this I me, all that, plus there are other identity which is hard to break, like I am related to this person. So all of these are identity that we create.
It is.
And that is always, like Buddha said as well, like, detachment
to this
ego is the biggest enemy, and detaching yourself from the ego is going to set you free. But it's hard to understand that unless you have an awareness as well. And unless you've read books, you've worked on your spiritual side, it's quite hard to understand the topic in a simple way. And in layman term, I think it's a bit different. Trying to explain people what ego is. People think, oh, ego, I'm egoistic. No. It's not just that. It's the identity of who you've become.
Yeah, who you've become.
You see what I mean? Yeah. So you picked up all of these things in life, like knowledges, whatever, and you've kind of molded that into one thing to create yourself. Yeah. And you've become that person.
It has,
but is it you that is that person, or you've become that person? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you have become that person.
You have.
By gathering all these knowledges and things, which suits you, right?
Yeah.
Experiences. You just pick that up saying, okay, I like that. You know what? I'm going to be associated with that. I like that. So all these associations have created so many branches within you, which is a good thing that you are, exploring different experiences. But the worst part is when you try to detach yourself from each one of them, or if someone challenges you based on that, saying, "Are you Nepali?" Okay,
or and then you get riled up.
And then you're like, you're emotionally worked at that moment.
You worked up.
And that's when you realize, okay, all of this attachment that we get in life, is because of that, right?
It is, it's so interesting. And I think in the book as well, it talks about what you've just mentioned is ego on the individual level, but you can have ego on like a race level. You can have ego on a religion level, like. You can have an ego on a country level, like I am X, I am that. And I think it's good and bad at the same time, because I had the conversation with the guys yesterday, and we were talking about this exact idea. And in the book Sapiens, it talks about this idea of like shared imagination or shared feelings of community. And if it wasn't for those shared imagination, Homo sapiens wouldn't be alive today. So it's this idea of creating like religion. I mean, I'm not saying that religion is like fake or whatever, because each to their own, but things like religion, country, all of this is what made Homo sapiens stick together, and as a result survive against like the Neanderthals and all of these other our cousins back in like centuries ago. And it's that same analogy that has stemmed to this day. So like you said, like people talk about their race, and it's like, if someone says anything about their race, it's like, I might not know you, but because we associate ourselves against that race or that religion, I'm going to back you. And it's this idea of being on a tribe again, because human beings like being in a tribe.
Yeah. Makes them feel safe as well, right?
Yeah, it's safety in numbers kind of thing. But I think, ego itself is like you said, it's like it can happen on that individual level, group level. It's what you can't always say ego is a bad thing, because you kind of need that.
You need that
for your own identity. But I think if you don't let it like take over and like define like who you are and that's all I am, because once you strip all of that away, like who are you really though? Like once you strip all of that title, all of that away, like who are you at the core of it?
Yeah.
Who knows? Like,
who knows
and that's the journey, right? That's the checklist.
That's the checklist.
Going back to the checklist, the full circle.
Yeah. I think this is going to be based around the checklist.
It is. I think. Yeah, that's the.
And when you said that, something just came to my mind. I'm a deep thinker as well.
Yep.
And then I don't know if you follow Sadhguru.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I listen to his podcast. Yeah.
And this is from the yogic times as well, when they've. So when we as a normal people or person know brain as just the brain, right? Just one part. But then brain is actually subdivided into 4 parts. And I don't know if you know this. So this is the ancient teaching basically. So the 4 parts of the brains are the intellect, memory, ego, which is identity, and then the 4th one is intelligence. So what the ego does, or what the intellect does, is to protect your ego. So intellect and egos are always working back and forth.
Yeah. Are they working with each other or?
Always. Yeah. So one's trying to protect the other. So whatever you've learned, so the memory is there as just a base for feeding you information. So you pick up everything that you've learned.
Experiences.
Your body actually, your body is a silo of memory. Yeah. So it remembers everything, right? Yeah. Like what he talks about your nose being the same as your grandfather or grandmother's nose. Why is it exactly the same? It's genetic memories, right? So all of these memories, what it does is feeds into you when you're, and the intellect is what makes you act to protect your ego. You see what I mean? These are the three compartments of the brain
that work together.
But the one that we should be exploring is the fourth part, which is unsullied by memory. This is not affected by memory, which is intelligence. So the intelligence is known as buddhi. Exactly. So the buddhi is intelligence, and that intelligence is who you are as a person. So all of these things is accumulated over the time, over past, over like genetics, all of these things. So those three things is what makes you who you are today, standing here, Lamika. But the fourth, which we don't really explore, which is our spiritual side, is intelligence.
Interesting.
See what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'd never heard of that concept, and I think a question to you then. So, how on the intelligence piece, how does someone work on that?
So you can access that. So meditation is things that you could do, right? Yeah. So what you're doing when you're meditating is you're detaching yourself from all of these memories and anything that you're associated with within the body, right? So you go into this space where you don't. I'm not my body. You know
I'm not my mind or my body.
Yeah. So it's that. So that's where it comes from. I'm not my mind.
I'm not even my body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I remember that mantra.
So I'm not my intellect, nor am I my memory.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's two things, and then if you can eliminate both of them, then your intellect becomes weaponless.
Oh.
Because it's not feeding into it, right?
It's not. Yeah, of course.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. It's all working hand in hand.
Yeah. And when you've actually mastered this, where you can phase in and out of like these three things, then you can access the other side, which is the buddhi, which is not affected by memory. So there is no memory there. So when you go in there, you have no past experiences that you can work with. So every time it's a new experience. So when people meditate and come out, it's not like you can't say, how is your meditation last week?
It's a different experience.
It's a different experience. So it's entirely different. Every day is a different thing. When you meditate, you come out with new experiences. You become a new person every single day because there is no memory related to that. So
no, it's a clean slate.
It's
a white canvas.
So you're wiping out all the dirts basically, and you can start painting if you want.
Yeah.
Or not.
And I think the benefit of that is over time, you get to start crafting your life in your terms as opposed to building it on how you've been raised or people around you. So it's like, it's unlocking a part of you that will then give you the power to live your life in your own terms.
Exactly. So if you can detach ego, then as soon as ego has gone out of the way, that means you are not really working for someone.
No.
You're not working for this religious group. I'm not working for that person. I'm not.
You are you.
Yeah, you are you in that term. So you can think creatively now. Yeah. And you can actually say, look, this is not based on memories. This is not based on anything else. You know what? I'm going to create new space, new ideas, new person. Then you can start exploring the new you, basically.
And that's where the fun begins, because then you can start creating experiences and manifesting experiences according to your own terms, as opposed to being under the shackles of the ego that wants you to act a certain way, which is based on, what is the intellect, the brain?
Intellect, ego, and memory.
Memory, of course.
Memory.
And then
intelligence.
Intelligence is
the
separate thing.
Completely. Yeah. And the reason, our intellect is so sharp, and the intelligence is not so sharp. Obviously, there's no awareness of intelligence. That's one thing. But the reason our intellect is so sharp is because it's protecting you, right? It's protecting your identity. So this is us, as we talked about fear, flight or flight mode, right? So this is to protect ourselves from danger, basically, from someone attacking us. Like, we're still living in the tribal mode. We're still living in this animal kind of brain. Caveman days. And this
the chimp brain.
Chimp brain, yeah. So still that within us. So, but the brain, I think it's the neocortex or the whole cortex. So what happens is that our brain evolved into the new part, our rational brain, which is the neocortex, I think. When that developed, we're still stuck in the back part of the limbic brain. So limbic is the part where animals are quite they're still running from problems and running from danger and stuff. So fear-filled mind is our limbic brain. So, but when the neocortex was actually developed or evolved into, we didn't we're still not exploring that side. So sometimes it kicks in when you're really like super creative. It's a neocortex kicking in.
Yeah, that's so true.
So
it's like when you're in that creative flow kind of thing. Yeah.
But if you're still acting from your limbic brain, then you're still going to be in that animal sort of behavior.
Yeah.
So it's hard for you to come out of it and then be the human that you should be, I think.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think we had this conversation as well. Like whenever me and my friends get together, we're all similar people naturally. And we were talking about how that's what sets us apart from the chimps is the fact that we can imagine.
Yeah.
Imagination and creativity is what sets human beings apart from the gorilla. And we were joking and saying like, a gorilla doesn't have a PDP plan. A gorilla doesn't have a New Year's resolution. I mean, that'd be quite an interesting sight. Journaling. Get more bananas.
Yeah. Get drunk in the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the power that we have. Like squirrels, I think I read this other book as we were talking about how this thing around instincts, right? Animals have instincts within them to survive and reproduce and pass their genes. That's what makes them survive. We all have instincts within us as anyone who's living. Plants have instincts to live. They sway towards the sun because they need it to survive. So do animals. But human beings have this thing called like a success instinct, which is actually what sets us apart is this, like, it's kind of like we want to work towards things like goals. We do want to have a purpose, right? And if we have that power, why not use it? Like we're so lucky to have this drive, have goals to work towards and like that freedom and creativity, because gorillas don't have that, squirrels don't have that, right?
No.
And I'm not saying, every single human being needs to wake up every day and run 10K and achieve everything in life, but let's recognize our privilege, because I think privilege is another thing, and it can be used in other contexts, but rather than always thinking of what we don't have or like, I wish I had that, it's like if you take a step back in the big picture, like you mentioned, in the grand scheme of things, the fact that we can wake up and have goals to set in our checklist is a privilege.
It is. Yeah.
It is a privilege.
It is. And we don't
need to recognize that privilege.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's what we're lacking in this sense, but we don't think deep. That's the problem, I think. I've seen people that have, it's not judgment or anything, but it's just shallow, very, when you sometimes you got to think deep. Sorry, I'm going to change
go
position.
for it, get comfy.
Oh, man,
it's a warm day today, so.
I'm just, suddenly I've changed position and
different
probably lie down in the same. But you're right.
Nap time.
You're definitely we're not recognizing our powers, I think.
No.
And that is a pity.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm powerful, but I'm getting towards that. At least I have awareness.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, it's the first step. At least you're aware of these things and you can work towards it.
Yeah.
But if you're not aware, if you have no, people in tribal world, there's some communities that are unexplored.
It's because they haven't got the access to knowledge.
So anything outside world for them seems like threat.
It does.
And that's the problem, right? We see, so any new information that we see is a threat.
It's a threat, yeah.
So if we keep approaching our situation like, I'm going to be scared, like every new situation comes as a threat, then how can you progress forward? You
can't, no. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the uncontacted tribe I think it's in South America, or there's one group in somewhere in South India as well. And they have no contact with the outside world. Anyone that tries to approach them, they kill them, literally.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not one of us, you're a threat. And it is a threat because they've grown up in this small tribe in their own little world. Even if an outsider was to go in, we carry diseases that their body hasn't been adapted to. So it is a threat in general, but like they actually kill you. And I think that same analogy can be used in our lives as well, where we look at new experiences as a threat, or like, it's like, oh my God, is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? And I think it goes back to the whole ego thing again, but
it's quite scary, isn't it? Starting something new.
It is.
Your body just goes in a shock.
Yeah, it does. It's
straight
fear
away.
mode. Yeah, you're trying to protect yourself, and I think it's what you said earlier on. Like your ego's, your intellect's trying to protect the ego.
Yeah,
and vice versa. I think.
Yeah, and
vice versa.
I felt that many times as well when there's like new opportunities that come to you, literally come to you. You don't even have to you're not even trying hard. It comes to you, But then in that moment, you're like off decision. You literally just have this
Instant.
weird feeling that just the weird chemical that's running in your body.
Yeah, your knees go weak.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, shaking and that.
Sweating.
Yeah.
Shout out Eminem.
Yeah, I think he kind of caught that. Yeah. But yeah, it's exactly that, I think. It's just your body just paralyzes you. And
it does, yeah.
Then what can you do? If you freeze in that moment and your body's giving that signal, then you think, oh, maybe it's not right.
It's not the right thing, yeah.
And
it's a chemical thing, but also a physical thing, which then leads to like a social thing. Like
it becomes a new condition.
A new condition, yeah. So, and then I think that's the thing about people who don't get out of their comfort zone is over time, like your body is conditioned to say no to these things.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the self-awareness piece, is recognizing that, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable, but it's just a feeling.
Yeah.
But I know from my past experience, every time I have stepped out of my comfort zone, that's where the best things have happened.
Yeah.
The best things in life are on the other side of fear.
Always, yeah.
And I remember I used to write blogs before, and there was a quote that I found somewhere ages ago, which really resonates with me, which is, a ship in the harbour is safe, but that's not what ships are built for.
No. Yep.
I'm a ship, you're a ship. Like, let's go out, let's explore, let's see what else is out there. Let's not let fear hold us back.
Unless you're worried about the seawater and
then the waves, but then
then the purpose of ship is to overcome,
to explore,
all of these tides and and
whatever comes your
tragic
way.
Weather condition as well. So you should go and explore. There will be, you might lose a piece or so.
Hopefully there's a
not a Titanic.
Ship,
Titanic
not a Titanic. That would suck. That kind of kills the metaphor I'm going for.
Except the Titanic. Just go with the cruise.
Go with the cruise. Go with the flow.
Holiday.
Wave after wave.
Many songs.
References. I mean, hopefully we don't get sued. Plagiarism.
It does happen when you're checking the thing. It might come up as a.
It's like, sorry, don't sue me.
It's not. Just natural. It just came out off the flow.
Just too quick.
Good. I think we didn't do introduction as well, right?
Oh my god, I'll be like an hour in and put an introduction.
We are.
Oh, we got the timer there. That's my dad, by the way. Say hi to my dad. Uncle. Shout
42
out.
minutes we're in.
Oh wow.
And
we haven't done an intro yet.
So
I think that'd be a good idea.
Do you want to do intro?
What kind of intro would you like?
You could do your
if you know.
I was listening to that Spotify thing.
I haven't heard of that tune in so long. It's like bringing back memories in a good way, but
that's a good tune. I think
it is. Like I think it becomes a brand, doesn't it? Like people associate that. It's like the whole condition is that you associate that with hopefully good things, and it's like, I'm going to learn something from this podcast kind of thing.
And as soon as you hear that, you're like, okay, well, it's good things are going to come out.
Yeah, hopefully.
I heard that sound and I'm like, shit, I don't have any sound on mine. Mine's like, I do have a sound, but it sounds like you're not Dolby, the speakers.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like that. Mine sounds like it's the bass has been dropped, like it's just literally been pulled away.
I mean, if that's the vibe you're going for.
No, I went with a heartbeat kind of thing.
Did you? Oh.
I didn't go for it. The guy just sent it to me. I got someone else to do it.
Oh.
Anup. Shout out. So he actually designed that for me.
Oh, did he?
And he's like, he made it. I don't know where it picked the sound from, but I really liked it. And I tried to make it like a heartbeat as well.
That's cool. What's the meaning behind that?
No meaning. It just sounds good.
Vibes.
Like, we're living, like, we're still alive kind of thing.
If your heart is beating, you are alive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a heartbeat kind of thing. I really like that concept, I think.
It is,
And it looks like it's heartbeating. The whole logo is moving in and out.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's the whole like play on sound and visuals. I love it.
Just, try to do something creative, but...
Yeah, I think my sound, I remember when I first launched my podcast, I brainstormed very closely with my closest girlfriends, like my boyfriend, like Susie Perry V, like I think Susie helped me pick out the sound for my podcast, and it just kind of became my thing. And it was like a chill hop instrument. I had to request the producer that can I use it for my podcast, and he said yes. So
is it? So
I think it was like one of those free beats. Just in case, like, I don't want to get sued in the future.
And
it's
they
always
would.
good. But yeah, I think in terms of introduction, like the reason that we're here today and we've connected is I have my own podcast at Soft F Sundays. A little shout out. Sundays with a double S because someone else took Sundays with a single S. And for me as well, like self-dev has been a passion of mine naturally. I think it's a passion of everyone's, regardless of whether you know it or not yet. Everyone's self-developing, whether you like it or not. Both on a personal life level, but even your body is constantly changing. Your cells are like changing every few months. So I think this idea around self-development has always been in my mind. And the reason it actually started was I used to read a lot of books similar to yourself. My uncle, he's the one that got me into this whole like self-development, spirituality world, and law of attraction, manifestation, all of the new age buzzwords. But the more I started practicing these things, the more benefit I saw in my life. And then I was like, okay, if I'm getting value, let me explore that more. And like, I learned, I self-developed. That's how it started. And I've got an Instagram page, personal one. And then I just started doing book reviews. And I was like, who's interested in seeing more of these book reviews? And I use my personal page every Sunday to like review books and like snapshots of what I've read, what I've learned, and just shared it with my close friends and my community. And then one thing led to another. And then obviously with COVID, we all had a lot of time in our hands with like no traveling. And I think that's where a lot of creative projects were formed, like especially in my network, like similar to yourself as well, I guess. Yeah. I guess it's the timing side of thing. And then one thing led to another. And I just started my own podcast page. And going back to what we said, like there's always that fear of what are people going to think? What are people going to say? Who's even going to listen? Like, who am I? Like, out of thousands of other podcasters out there, what are people at work going to think? Is that my image? Like, who do I think I am? Exactly. Kind of thing. And you start going through this like spiral of overthinking, I think naturally. But then what I listened to was my close friends and my people that I know will care regardless, right? And they were like, go for it. Like, I'm seeing value from this. And then I think that's what kept me, that's what helped me start, but also that's what kept me going, is that me sharing this one podcast or this one book learning is helping one person. Like, as long as it's helping one person, that's my job done. It could be my friend, it could be someone I don't know, a stranger. If I can share my thoughts, my voice, my learnings to someone and they take something away, like that's my job done. And I think that was kind of like my motivation, my driving force to show up every Sunday and record episodes. And then kind of like what you're doing, I wanted to collaborate with other individuals who are similar to myself. And I started this series called Ordinary Tales and Extraordinary Dreams. And the motivation for that was that so often we only focus on successful people who've already made it. And they're like, oh, how were you successful? And it's like, great, like they've already made it. But just so many people who will be successful today, they're in the works right now, they're in the process behind the scenes. So I just started opening up this series, and I started off with my closest friends. So like you said, you interviewed Sarai. I interviewed my best friend Perry, and I was like, let's just do this, see how it goes. And it just, one thing led to another. Did the same with my friend Susie, sister, and that's what kicked off the momentum. And the more I did it and the more I showed up for myself, I started getting feedback. And it's not like it's a big thing, but I think the main thing, the reason I did it is I learned more about myself than anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, yes, I added value to other people's lives, but I learned so much from the conversations I had, the books that I read, and the fact that I was sharing my learnings imprinted it in my brain even more. Because you read a book and you're like, you move on. But
you're kind of like, it's like teaching someone else as well. Not even teaching, you're sharing stuff.
Yeah, that's what helps you things click. Like, it's a psychological thing. Like, if you want to learn a new term or a topic, teach it to someone, because then that's how your brain remembers it, right? Yeah. So that's what happened. And I recorded like over 50 episodes, both solo ones and guest ones, and people that I look up to, my managers at work, and close people that I got to know as well. And I've still got, it's still going. Like, I need to revive it. And I think I was telling like Bishar there, like in the beginning, I think this was the exact kind of spark I needed to ignite that side again. Because naturally, everything is exciting in the beginning, and then over time it becomes like, oh,
it plateaus out.
Yeah. So, and it's okay. Like, you don't have to be 100 miles per hour all the time, right? I was taking some time back and reflecting on what I want to do, and maybe I'll go through a rebound, who knows? But That's what I've been doing. That's what I do. Obviously, that's my side hustle. I've got a day job as well because I got to pay the bills. During my day job, I work as a sales engineer. So I work in the sales business with it's a corporate company selling technology. So that's my day job, which I love as well. So I think that's another thing is that when people say 9 to 5, there's a negative connotation with it. But if you enjoy it, if you're working with people that you enjoy, there's nothing wrong with that either, right? It's not every day you have to start your own company, do the digital nomad thing. Like, just do things that bring you joy. So yeah, that's me. Hopefully that answered the longest introduction ever.
I love it. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Every time I need to do an intro, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah.
It's just so smoothly done.
Just like, transition. It's like a smooth transition on
I hate
a slide.
when you have to do like an intro of someone.
Yeah. It's like, where do I begin? Do I say my favorite color? Like,
yeah. It's always hard.
Do I give a whole history?
Introducing yourself
Yeah.
is so hard. And then, because you got to think in that moment, right? And when you're thinking, new ideas come to your mind. So I'm like, I need to add that as well. Look, because I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's hard to capture everything that you do. And I think this goes back to the ego thing. Because I attach my identity to my podcast and my day job and the company I work for and stuff. But I'm so much more than that.
Yeah, and that's why I don't usually ask people what they do for work.
That's so true.
I really don't want to. Like when
There's
someone
more to you than your work.
So if I say what you do, I did ask you when I came, and I was a bit disappointed with myself, but
you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I normally don't ask that question because I think I'm limiting you by asking that question. So if I said, "What are you doing?" then you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to say something that makes sense to him, right?
Yeah.
So if I said, "What am I doing?" and if you say, "I'm a nomad," I'm like, "What do you do?"
What
like,
do you
it's a
mean?
fear of judgment again.
Yeah.
So as soon as I ask what you're doing, you have to think in terms of work, like, oh yeah, I am a sales, I work in sales, or I'm a podcaster, or whatever. That means you're limiting yourself. All the slashes, podcaster slash. So all the slash becomes shorter and shorter. So you're basically trying to bring yourself within this boundary of your own thinking, and I don't want to do that as well because it's quite like
limiting,
very limiting if you think about it. As you said, you said you've got power to do more, and you know that you can do a lot more, and you must be doing a lot more on the side as well. But if soon as I ask you what you do, then it all becomes like a boxed thing again.
Does.
You see what I mean?
It is, yeah, that's so true. And I recently started a new role, and at the start of the year, I was going through some personal challenges, from a mental health point of view. And just as an FYI, the word mental health, I know is something that gets thrown around a lot, but I think from what I've been through, it's given a completely different meaning to it. And I had a chat with my boyfriend, and I think it was because I was going through a role change, and I associated myself so much with the previous company that I worked for, right? That's who I am. That's my brand. And then I started questioning everything. Once that's taken away, who am I? Who is Lamika, kind of thing. And then I remember my boyfriend was like, your friends and your family love you for Lamika, for who she is. They don't love you because you're a solutions engineer at a company. And I think that really put into perspective, just lowering the stakes for what you do and the things that you associate yourself with. And then I also think about my grandparents and my nan and my mum and my dad, whether I'm the CEO of a company or whether I am working as a cleaner of that big company, they're going to treat me the same. They're going to love me for who I am. And it's that unconditional love that goes beyond my title. And I think if you think about the love your grandparents or your parents have for you, they don't look at your identity and it's they love you past the ego.
Yeah.
And I think that's the purest form of love.
Yeah.
And I remember I failed this exam once at work, and I was going through this whole thing again in my head, because I associated myself with that title and so much. And the next day I went to my cousin's house, and we were just getting together as a family, and I was like, this is what matters. This is who I am, and this is what I work for.
Exactly.
In the grand scheme of things, when I always say, when I'm hopefully 80 years old in old people's home, I'm not going to think about all the deals that I closed. I'm not going to think about that one presentation with a customer that went really bad. I don't even know what I presented to customers in the last 5 years, you know? What I'm going to remember are the conversations I had with the people I love the most, like my time I spent with my family, my friends, having conversations like this that goes beyond just materialistic things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to remember when I'm 80 years old. Yeah. Like, not waiting to die, but like...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's just those memories are what's going to make a difference in life.
Yeah, they're priceless.
Yeah.
I can't buy it.
You can't buy those moments. You talked about your podcast, obviously. I want to see where we can take this now.
Wherever you want to take it.
You said you want to talk about women in tech. What's your experience like then? And what is it like being in an industry is usually dominated by male counterparts?
Yeah. I mean, this is a topic that me and my friends talk about all the time. Like, I went to uni, studied like computing. I was like 3 girls out of like 50 guys. And there's a certain perception of you need to look a certain way to study those degrees. And I still remember like this comment that my chemistry teacher made back in college. She was just going around the room and like, they were saying, oh yeah, this person's going to be a doctor, this person. And it's like, she looked at me and she's like, you're probably going to be in front of a magazine somewhere kind of thing, right? And I think that's the thing about like girls and women that like to wear nice dresses and like want to put a bit of makeup on and like want to look nice. They constantly, instantly associate that with a certain look and like a certain career kind of thing. And, you know, these comments stick to you. Like, you know, it's nearly been a decade since I've been at college, but these comments stick to you kind of thing. But I think for me, like I've already shared this, but I went through uni through clearing as well because I can get the grades to study pharmacy. And then I always loved IT and tech. And then I kind of fell into Bristol and I had the best time. And it's because I got through to university through clearing. I think I embraced that experience so much as well. Like, it's like I got given a second chance kind of thing. And then, yeah, I think, in general, like the industry and stuff, obviously things are changing now and people are open to like diversity and having, you know, more people of color and gender and stuff in like meetings. And it's what every company's saying these days. Like we focus on equality and we focus on this kind of thing. But my experience in general has been pretty good, actually. Like, I'm not going to sit here and complain that, you know, the whole world is against me because I'm a woman of color in tech, but it has been good. And I think it also goes to what you make of the situation. And I remember I did this panel for this Asians in tech thing. And rather than looking at the way you look and where you're from as something that's going to set you back, actually use it as a power to embrace who you are, because companies are looking for women. Companies are looking for people of color, especially in those industries. So going where the industry is headed, I love being a woman in tech because there's not a lot of us around. So we're like a unicorn. We're rare. And I have these conversations with, you know, other people, my mentors I talk to as well. So I think in general, like whether it's women in tech, women in engineering, because obviously that's your background. One of my other friends, really good friends, she's from engineering as well. And we've had these conversations like going into careers that are not as traditional, because I think in our community, like being Nepali, people assume like women to go into nursing or dental nurse and accounting, and there's nothing against them, but I think it's kind of like a setting because you look around and you look at your older cousins or your older siblings and they go there and you just kind of follow through. And I think this goes back to the checklist thing, bringing it back. Yeah. You just follow the checklist someone else in your family went through, right? And I remember at college, like I think I failed like the grades that I needed to get into to study pharmacy. But I think now I'm a firm believer that there's a bigger plan. Like I was always meant to study tech. I was always meant to work at a certain company, and like this is what my personality was built for, and that's why I'm good at that role, because you know, as part of my role, I need to be a storyteller. I need to connect to people. I need to understand psychology, empathy, also getting shit done. Like those are all the traits that has hopefully helped me to land the role that I'm in. And that's where I get to shine the most.
Mm-hmm. Talking about things that you're grateful for. Obviously, you talked about failures in life, grades that you didn't get.
Yeah, man. The A-levels really humbled me.
It humbled me. It humbled me as well.
Did it?
A lot of people don't know what grades I got when I was at uni. I was quite embarrassed to tell people.
Oh,
I did.
yeah. Are you comfortable sharing it now, or
I don't mind sharing now. I just don't, because
you've made
yeah,
it turned out all right.
I'd be happy if I could inspire people, and it turned out beautiful, man. It was like I was doing like I was good first year. Yeah. A-levels.
Yeah.
Smashed it. Absolutely smashed it.
The first year freshers party began. That's where it all went down.
No, second year. No. Second year A2.
Oh, yeah.
Is when I flopped.
For college, yeah.
For college, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
AS was beautiful. Like, I smashed it. Like, it was AA something.
Yeah.
I'm
got
like,
a bit
man,
cocky,
this is so easy. Yeah, it's like so easy. My maths was like on point. Yeah. I was getting AA. It was an A star at those days.
Distinction. Back in my days.
Yeah, historic days.
The dinosaurs roamed the world.
Man, that sounds old when I'm saying that. Shit, but we didn't have A stars.
It was the best grade you can get.
Yeah, exactly. So A was like the best you could get. And I got that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna sail through A2 as well. Second year.
And then it humbled you.
I'm like, what? Like the questions were like crazy. I took it too easy. I was cocky.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I'm not gonna revise for this. I was just gonna like go with the flow, and absolutely got shit grades. It was like DDE or something. So,
oh my God,
so I had to go from A student to D. But I knew what I'd done wrong. That I didn't actually practice. There's no effort that I put from my side. So I knew where I flopped. Now I had to get into uni, right? So what do I do?
It's a bit sticky one still.
And then just ring in like whatever. This was day of.
Was it clearing for you as well then?
A2 level.
Yeah.
Got the results, A level results, and then I'm on the phone. Luckily there was free phone in the school. They're like, okay, you can go in that corner and use that phone. So I'm like, what am I doing? So I went through like literally every single colleges, it's a universities. And I'm like, okay, are you gonna take me? I've got like
please.
And as I was saying the grades out in the phone, because you got to tell them what you got, right? So I was telling them I got DDE. And I'm feeling embarrassed myself. Like
you're like whispering.
You're
like, whispering.
Everything else was loud, and then when it comes to grades, you're like,
it's like, are you still there?
Yeah, you're still there.
This is
and then someone would be like, and then you hear that.
No response.
Nothing.
It's so funny. I had the exact same story. I think I got like a CDU. I got an A star in IT because clearly that was my strength. I was like, I did like chemistry, math, CDU, and it was funny because me and my friends were talking about how like when you share the news, it's like, how can I position my grade in the best way so that it doesn't highlight the bad the most? It's like DUC, A star, CD.
Oh,
you have to like play it around, but
And then when they hear you, you're like, sorry, say that again. Could you repeat it?
Yeah.
And what I did was like I must have rang loads of, like, because even within
someone just take me in.
Yeah, even within clearing, you have the grade requirement.
You do, yeah. Especially because what did you study? Engineering,
yeah,
right?
And it was quite low in that sense. The grades were quite low, but I kept on going. So I rang pretty much all the universities.
You were running out of
the last one, I think, must have been second last one, is they just said, okay, cool. And then I got an email from them saying the clearance had been accepted.
Oh, nice.
But then the name of that engineering that I was doing was different. So it wasn't mechanical engineering, it was medical engineering.
Bloody hell.
So I'm now shaking again. I'm like, shit, what did I...
There's been a typo.
Yeah, what did I apply for? Like, there was definitely not medical engiering.
What even is medical engineering?
Yeah, and then I typed medical engineering. There's new courses that was out. I'm
bloody
like, oh man, I don't want to do that.
So you were a hamster.
Yeah, exactly.
You were a guinea pig.
Yeah, exactly. This experimental project. And then, so I got accepted, but it was mechanical.
Oh, good.
Rang him up. I was happy, man. That was probably
so
one of the...
So was it a typo all along then?
Yeah. It was a big typo though, man.
That's a big typo.
Man's about to have a heart attack.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's like these times you think you're going to do mechanical. Yeah. You're like ending up in like hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the wrong kind of engineering.
Yeah, that's definitely
It's so funny how we've got a similar experience as well.
And all that time I thought, you know what, engineering is it. It must be it. It definitely is it.
Yeah.
It is 100% it. Yeah. There was nothing. My mind was not focused on anything else. So I was doing engineering for like a few years, and then I realized, oh man, this is boring.
So what made you go into engineering in the first place? Is it because you were good at maths or?
I was good
until that second humbled experience.
Yeah, no, I was good. I'm still good at maths.
Yeah,
but I didn't put any effort in there. But yeah, I was interested in cars and stuff like that. Like engineering as
F1,
a whole.
Mr. Hamilton.
F1, yeah, exactly, Mr. Hamilton. So
yeah, no.
I should have chosen driving instead of engineering.
Yeah,
right?
maybe we could have played like Lewis Hamilton's like doppelganger.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Whenever he's injured, I can
you
replace
pretend.
it.
It's like,
and crash the car.
That wasn't me. That was a real Lewis.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it just didn't happen. Like, and I did masters as well as a way of. I needed like a sabbatical. So
just to think what you want to do with your life.
Instead of like taking out time, I was spending money to actually do more and get even deeper into engineering. So I did masters in engineering.
Bloody hell.
Aced it.
Did you?
Got a distinction, man.
Hey, man.
So yeah. So I'm a good student.
Yeah.
So
I think because after the A-level experience, you're like, nah, I don't want to feel that
when
way.
I got distinction, I'm like, man, it is definitely possible. If you put your mind to it, you could do it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I am.
Maybe you are a good engineer.
Yeah, I am
maybe
an
this
engineer.
is it.
Yeah. Then I was like, okay, I went back to work again. And I'm like, okay, I'm loving this, man. This, like,
what did you do for like the role? What was it?
Aeronautical. So I was designing stuff for airplanes.
Nice.
So it's like landing gear system.
That's huge. My dad, like, he loves stuff like that. I think, yeah.
So it was good experience. And then I got to travel around. I went to Germany a couple of times as well because the customers were based in Germany. So that was pretty good experience. Then I realized, am I an engineer again?
Yeah.
So that thought came back again. You go through
the whole circle, yeah.
So that thought came back again, and I'm like, I don't think I am. So that's when I decided, you know what? It took me 2 years to make that decision, saying, you know what? I need to explore some other stuff. So what am I actually good at? I've always been good chatting to people, talking to people, but more than that, I'm a good listener. I could listen. I don't care. I don't have to talk. I can just sit there and listen to people.
Yeah. But do you listen
without
and
input,
register?
Without input. Sometimes it registers, sometimes it doesn't.
That's the selective.
Sometimes I'm
dozing off.
Yeah, it could happen, but it's a natural thing for humans, right? But I always knew that I'm a very good listener. So if you ask me what my strengths are, I would say I'm a very good listener. Not a good speaker. I'm a good speaker as well at times, but I think listener for me it comes like the top trait.
It's a natural thing for you to
natural. So I was happy with that, and I'm like, you know what, podcasting maybe I didn't know what podcasting was back then. So I'm like, I'm just exploring options. And then I thought, you know what, let's just record something and see what it comes out as. You know, it could be
how it could be really good. It could be really bad.
Could be crap, and then just gave it a go, and then it just happened to be a thing. So at the moment I'm still on sabbatical. Another sabbatical. This is a real one where I'm exploring stuff, and it's a filled with passion as well. So
yeah, I think going back to the fact that you did your masters, even though you were taking a sabbatical, do you think that was out of fear as well? Yeah,
it was. I was protecting myself, like,
just in case. It's a safety net.
It seemed like a step towards something, but it was when I look back now, it was a safety net. It was definitely a safety net.
It's like, if this thing doesn't work out, at least I'm still an engineer.
Yeah, which was like, it wasn't that. I didn't decide to do podcasts back then.
No.
So this was in 2016 when I did masters.
Your masters, yeah.
So at that moment, I wanted, like, I don't know, I was going for chartered engineer status, and you needed all of these stuff.
To do that 5 years. You need 5 years. 5
years.
To be chartered.
You need masters on top of that, so it becomes easier. So I was thinking that route, and I was like, if something don't work out in the future, I could become a chartered.
It is a safety net, isn't it?
And I was thinking more from a safety perspective than attempting something getting outside the comfort zone. And then it became too much, to a point that I'm like,
this is like killing my brain.
Yeah, I need to detach myself from all of this, and let's just try something.
Yeah. Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, go.
So when you decided to like let that part go, because I think the biggest fear for me is like, what are my parents going to think? Or well, like, I've got my little cousins and my brother and stuff will like look up to me. Am I being a good role model to them, kind of thing? Like, it's not like I'm thinking about, doing what, like, just like freelancing at this stage, but that's like, I think that's what holds me back. But like, did those thoughts overcome your mind, and how did you overcome? Thought
as in like
what are people, like, what's my parents going to think? Like, if I quit engineer,
it always happens. I think that is the biggest thing that stops us. Like, what are parents going to say? Especially that's the first thing that.
Did they understand what you did?
No idea. They had no idea what podcasting is, or what, like, why I want to take a break. And I said, look, I want to take a break. But then I am doing something on the side as well. I'm a trader. So
nice.
So I do currencies and stuff. So
cool. That's
so
where
the
it's
reason
at
I
these
left,
days,
reason I left my job was to do that. This just is a side hustle.
Side hustle as well.
So I'm not just doing podcasting for money, because it makes no sense otherwise.
It makes no sense. Yeah.
Not yet. So and then
come. Sponsor me.
Sponsor. I just need good branding and stuff.
Yeah, a little ad here. Put a little can of Coke.
Yeah, exactly. So and then I decided to do that. So they understood that I wanted to try something out, because my dad's been working in an engineering company, was working in an engineering company in Nepal.
Nice.
For almost 35 years. So he knows what the 9-to-5 life gives you. And it was the most productive thing that you could do in the 70s, 80s, 90s even. Yeah. That was the most lucrative thing that you could do in terms of stability, security, money, finance, everything. It sorted you out. 9-to-5 was the best thing to do.
Yeah, it's a good foundation.
It was, because there's nothing else. Either you become a farmer back then in Nepal, right? Or you work in a different sector. Yeah. And it just didn't make sense not doing 9-to-5 back then. Now times have changed. 9-to-5 has become like a back burner now. So people are moving away from it. As you said, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
But there are ways, if you're just doing 9-to-5 to make money, there are ways that you can make money other ways without doing 9-to-5, right? Yeah. So that's what I was exploring, and bumped into like trading and stuff like that, which is like,
you need to teach me some of that as well.
Yeah, that'll be when it becomes success.
Yeah, when you become a billionaire.
Yeah, a millionaire for now.
Millionaire first.
But yeah, that's how it led. My thinking process was like, you know what, families might say this, that, but they were already supportive, because they knew what I was getting into. Yeah. In terms of other people, friends were like, obviously they're supportive, because 90% of the people hate their jobs, right? So as soon as I said I'm leaving my job, they're like,
jealous.
Oh,
it's
man,
like, tell me more.
Yeah,
it's like,
they say that every time.
Courage?
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, I should be doing what you're doing, but not everyone has the same foundation.
No, they
family
don't.
support.
Family support.
You see what I mean?
How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to pay
all
rent?
of these matter as well. Like when you're taking decisions, big decisions in life, you need to have people that are supportive, because these are rainy days for me.
Of course.
I call it a rainy day, but these are rainy days where you need absolute like mental strength, financial strength. You need every single strength that you can possibly get out, right? And that's when I was looking and for help from my family and brother and like-minded people and friends, and everyone came together. They're like, okay, makes sense. So just go out and do what you want to do. Yeah. And then this actually came as a surprise to me, because I was doing that and I just didn't want to be involved in trading 9-to-5 again. See what I mean? So I wanted to do something on the side. So this actually was born as a passion on the side to keep me away from trading like a lunatic.
It's like like a lunatic just stuck behind the screen. I think this goes back to your strengths again, right? Like you like listening, you like talking to people kind of thing. So you weren't exercising that part of your personality or your strength
at all.
So
when I was at work, man, I was frustrated because people were telling me what teas they like at work or what coffees they prefer drinking. I'm like,
Wait, there are bigger
and I'm there because I'm a good listener, right?
Yeah.
And they used to exploit me in a sense, if we think about it.
Yeah, that's so true.
So as soon as you are a good listener, people recognize that,
and then they come to you for all their problems,
everything.
Yeah,
so I was at work. My manager used to come for advice, or just share problems.
So you're like a dump of people.
They just come and dump stuff, and it is so mentally draining. Your energy just disappears.
It does.
It's so hard listening to people. People think like listening is easy.
Listening is the most exhausting task. Yeah.
And I was listening. I was actually giving them feedback because you gotta help them as well. So I was always being that mindset, like I wanna inspire people or help people or listen and feedback kind of approach. And I'm like, it became too much. People just like talking random stuff.
And then like there's only so much brain capacity you've got as well. Like you want to absorb the right things that's going to help you in the long run. Like I don't really care what flavor tea you like.
No, and none of
so what am I going to do with that information?
Nothing.
Like you like Yorkshire tea. Like great.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Cool story.
I'm into Lipton tea.
Yeah, I'm into Lipton in it. Represent.
So I wasn't growing in that sense. No. So personal development was kind whack. Whack.
It's whack.
Whack.
The personal development game was whack.
There's nothing there because I was listening and not learning, sussing out, but really not helping me to build into a person that I wanted to become. I'm like, man, people like in 70s are coming to 70-year-olds were coming to me advice. Like they were like, should I retire? I'm like
surely.
Up to you, man. Like, what am I supposed to tell?
Up to you, Dave.
Yeah, it is called Dave as well.
Is he actually? True. Is he really? How did I know?
I don't know that it's the.
That's
if it's
weird.
not stereotypical, then that's a massive.
I think Dave is a very Sorry, Dave, if I sorry to all the Daves out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, it was too much draining to me until like I was like, I can't do this anymore, man. This is just too much. Like, I'm not gaining nothing out of this. So I'd rather like
focus on.
If I want to listen, I'll listen to people for an hour, like a podcasted kind of setting where I can suss out people and develop myself, right?
You're learning
from experiences. That's what I wanted to do. But we put a camera right next to us, put a microphone, that people that are, if I'm learning something, then they must be learning something.
Surely,
well.
you'd
see
hope.
What I mean?
Yeah. Hopefully, this is a valuable conversation, but they can be the judge of that.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can choose to decide.
Yeah. I think the listening thing is interesting because I can relate to you as well, and like me and my friends have this conversation all the time. Like, you need to know how to set boundaries. Like, people will come to you for because you're a good listener and for help and stuff. I think one thing I've also learned is that I can't fix every problem. I can't fix all of your problems. That people might come to me with problems. I can't fix it. But sometimes listening is enough.
Yeah.
Listening, like just being there is enough. But also knowing your boundaries. Because like you said, people are exploiting it. Like,
too much.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all of your brain power is listening to people's home problems. That's not your job. You're not getting paid for that.
No, it's not therapy.
You're not a therapist. I mean, that could be a venture that you can think. Therapists have really good listening skills, so that could be another side hustle for you.
No, I thought about that as well. I thought about ways that I could enhance that and actually make a career out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So therapist was one of them. Coaching was one of them. So I actually looked at courses and stuff like that.
Nice. Coaching is where it's at.
Coaching is really good, and I want to get into motivational speaking anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's a win-win.
And we lack. As a Nepali, we lack a role model in that sector. There isn't a motivational speaker at all. If you think about one, there isn't one.
I can't think of anyone.
There isn't one. Yeah. So I've always wanted to become and explore that side. So this all is like a building, like
it is building blocks.
So
it's like mini checklists for your bigger checklist. Yeah.
So it's just like people don't see this as anything. Some episodes might not make sense, but every single episode for me is massive. Like I'm learning so much out of it, and I'm climbing this step slowly,
mini steps.
Bit by bit. Like it takes a while. Like it's not every step is easy to climb, and some are higher than the other ones. But as I'm climbing this step,
you're still progressing towards something.
The stamina that I'm gaining out of this is
you could
beautiful.
Be hench by the time you get there.
Yeah, I'm getting that muscle.
Yeah, getting gains in that.
Yeah. So gains are good, but it's mental gain.
It's mental
more than anything for me. It's like I'm gaining so much of that. I think the strength-wise, in terms of mental strength, is like 1 year ago. If you ask me what I was and what I am now, I've grown so much as a person.
You've learned, and
it's a beautiful thing, man. When you know that you've grown as well.
Yeah, it's the I'm proud of me moment.
Yeah,
it's the most rewarding feeling ever. It's the
again,
most
it's maybe a bit selfish as well at times. Like ego is fully like satisfied and stuff, but
check.
Okay, another checklist.
Ego like bowl is filled up.
Yeah, it loves it.
It loves it. The ego loves it. But then look, you're aware of the fact that the ego loves it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're aware of the ego. It's fine.
So you can't beat me yet.
You can't beat me yet. You want the ego's there, but you're one step ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Ego is always following.
Ego's following me. I'm not following the ego. No. I like that.
Don't follow your ego.
That could be another title.
There's many titles out there.
Yeah, all the little phrases.
Yeah,
that's so true. I think I think the mental resilience is the biggest thing you can gain, and it's the fact that you show up for yourself. Like the fact that even today you've set a weekend aside, and I feel privileged to even be on here. But the fact that you've showed up with your crew, like the fact that you can motivate your friends to come along to even do this thing on a Sunday evening. They probably wants to go cycle somewhere, and they probably got other things, but like exactly.
I know what you mean. It's like they see the vision that I see.
They see the vision,
and it's hard to convince people to see that.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm not saying they're followers. They're the biggest supporter that I have, and it is as you said, is crucial to have people around you. Because
No,
I would have collapsed within second or third episodes if I didn't have
the
them.
right people.
If I didn't have Dikshanta and Sharan behind me.
Yeah, bless them.
Man, they're like my pillars. So it happens. Like,
They are your pillars.
yeah, without them, literally, this is nothing.
Nothing.
It doesn't even work out. And I'm not even having fun
No,
if I'm just doing this on my own.
No, it's the... Firstly, you wouldn't physically be here because you can't carry all this equipment
No.
by yourself.
No,
I mean,
impossible. Yeah.
impossible. But second is the memories, and I'm sure the relationships you built with them as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's, yes, there's one thing having a friend, but like a friend that supports your vision and sees the bigger picture, that's the biggest form of friendship. And I'm the same as you. Like, I've been so lucky with, firstly, my mum and dad, who've always supported everything I've done. Like like my boyfriend V, like he's always been there for me, and like my closest friend, like Susie, Perry, like Swiss, Shaku, like regardless of what I do, they will always cheerlead.
Yeah.
They'll always cheerlead for me. And when you think no one's listening, like even their little comment here or like support on Instagram, it's like, oh, people care.
Yeah.
It's like all you need is that, like, your pillars around you, and then everyone else. It's not like they're irrelevant, but like
at least you know that you
the
have
pillars will always be there,
Yeah.
regardless of the
So
storms.
if you do fall back, or if there's a crack or something, you know
there's
that
a rainy day,
the
the pillars will always be there for you,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that's another privilege, because not a lot of people can say that.
No.
That's recognizing your privilege.
Yeah. And I have another few other friends from uni.
Mhm.
They're so supportive.
Mm.
They're never out like Dikshanta and Sharan's always out, like they've been on cameras and
Yeah.
stuff, but there are people behind
Mental
as well.
support.
Man,
The
if you
cheerleading.
look at my
Insta.
Insta or YouTube, there's a guy who always comments saying,
So who's that one guy, the first one that
he
comments on
is,
your
and it's
post?
Divesh.
Shout out Divesh.
And obviously Omer and Waleed, Jibi as well, like
Yeah.
Ahmad. All of these guys
They're
are like,
always there for you.
always
Yeah.
there, and they actually provide you with feedback as well.
Mm.
Sometimes I ask them like, what should I ask like
The guests.
and the guests
Mm.
like, and they come up with questions,
Mm.
and then they're so excited when I see that. I'm like, wow, these guys are really excited,
yeah.
and I should be in that same energy level as well.
Yeah.
Some questions
and you
are
kind of feed
obviously
off of each other, don't you? Yeah,
at
it's
all
that energy.
times, and sometimes the questions are like is not askable as well. Like these are like unanswerable questions, and
yeah.
could be rude or something like that. But they're
Yeah.
just having fun, like
Exactly.
little fun
yeah.
moment. But
There's
yeah,
a time and place. Like you can,
Yeah.
like you said, like you can read people's language, body, and like
Yeah.
the room and stuff to like be like, okay, is this
yeah,
the right
exactly.
thing to ask right
yeah,
now?
sometimes it might not even be the right thing. Like I've prepared some stuff, but I don't even want to ask a lot of questions that I prepared because it went a different way.
Different way, and that's okay.
It's okay.
It's more authentic that way.
I prefer that.
I'm
so
not here to apply for a job interview. Like,
No.
It's not going to be like,
No.
tell me about a time.
Yeah,
It's
it's like,
like,
what's your best time that you
Start.
do?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to
Tell me about a time when you were leading a team.
Yeah, and you become exhausted coming out. You're like, oh, man, this
that
is
felt like a job interview.
yeah, it's hectic.
Yeah.
You'd rather have fun, right?
Fully, yeah. I'm always about that as well. And every conversation I've had on my podcast as well, like every single one, like firstly, the people that said yes, like I'm grateful for them for having the faith in me to even give up the time. But when I walk into these conversations, I just want them to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that I aspire to be, and also I think I pride myself in, is like making people feel comfortable,
Mhm.
regardless of who you are, regardless of, you know, whether you are a prime minister or whether you're anyone else. Like, I just want to make you feel comfortable, and like I'll treat you the same way.
Yeah.
You know, like, because
Yeah.
this goes back to the ego thing. Like, it's not about the identity of the title.
No.
It's beyond that. And it's like, you know, people say like how you treat waiters or people when no one's looking, that says a lot about your character.
Exactly.
And thankfully, I'd like to think I've been raised the right way, and also the background I'm sure you and I have come through from our parents and our grandparents, and the struggles that they've had to
Mhm.
get to even be in this position that we are sitting here right now. And I was into the podcast and it's talking about self-development as a premise, and even the fact that we're talking about self-development and sitting on a Sunday afternoon doing a podcast is a
Yeah.
privilege, because our grandparents didn't have that time. They had time to do was survive,
Mhm.
how to get the next food on the table,
Mhm.
or how do I get my kids to school. And they didn't have the creative capacity to sit back and ask the bigger questions of who am I or why am I here. And this is the reason we're having these questions, because we've got access to that knowledge, and we've taken that job within ourselves to go out and explore and ask these bigger questions. And I think going back to like how we have this access is also a gift, because our parents didn't have that.
No.
Like if you think about Nepal, like it's a third world country, would you say? Like,
yeah.
If we were back home, we'd be living a completely different life, and like thinking about the experiences that we would have had, nowhere near to what we're doing right now. And yeah, I think that's a gift as well.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense. That's a food for thought again, isn't it?
Another food for thought. Self-development is a privilege.
Yeah.
It is a privilege.
It is, yeah.
Recognize your privileges.
Because some people can work towards it, some people can't. Like
no.
Back in the days that you couldn't work
You
towards
couldn't. No, you don't have the capacity to even think of these bigger questions, because it's survival mode.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
We've come far.
We've come a long way.
And the podcast as well. I think we're over an hour.
Bloody hell.
Is it over an hour?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to check my phone.
1:26. So we're gonna.
Oh, we're gonna have to cut down a lot.
We're gonna.
It's
no, I'm not gonna cut anything, but we're gonna cut it short now.
Sure, yeah. Let's call it a day.
We can call it a day soon.
Lala. Thank you for having me.
You happy? He's happy. Now I'm gonna get these guys on as well.
Ew, I'm not. Yeah.
Come. We're coming to an end anyway.
Yeah. Come say hi. Have you guys got your drinks? Get your drinks. There, now until last man. Just to say thank you. Thank you.
And he says something funny as well. Like he always says something. Like one. If I said one.
So so thank you for coming. Yes. There we go. Okay. So thank you. This has been a pleasure to see you.
Oh.
This is not what I do normally, so I don't know what to say. This is not. Normally I'm behind the camera, so this is the first time I'm prepared.
All right, let me do a little icebreaker. That is.
We've done this in the beginning, right?
It just flowed.
Okay.
How was it, Bernie, then?
I really enjoyed it, though. Yeah, it was really good. Like, it was funny because in the beginning, I didn't even know it was recording, and we were just having a conversation, and I was like, oh, I haven't even introduced myself.
You know what? We need to give a shout out to Auntie.
Yeah. Auntie, my mom. Shout out to me, Auntie.
She has been amazing. We feel like we were celebrity. Like,
oh,
the best
she was feeding us the food. The
food, the drinks.
Oh my days, she's lovely.
Oh, bless her. Yeah, I mean, she was so excited for this day as well. Like,
she's your biggest fan. I have to say
that.
Like, you know, like, I felt like I wouldn't be that much happy even if I won a lottery, like million. Like she was so happy.
I know, because I showed like Dai's videos, and I was like, you know, he's a big deal, and he was like, oh my god, because she's a big podcast listener as well. And when I said like, oh, Dai around, and so like she bought all the drinks, and was like, what food? She's got sandwiches for you guys, so we can go eat after, because I'm a bit hungry as well. But yeah, she planned this whole like settings and stuff as well, so you could tell. I'm glad that she got that and she got the credit for it, so shout out to mum and dad.
Basically what we're going to do is you're going to show some pictures,
and
you just have to guess and tell us, like, if you guess the right person, and you're just going to tell us like, oh, okay, this is what he's known for.
Okay.
And just to give you a hint, these are all like a freedom fighter, like who actually like did something for the country and stuff. So
Nepali?
There is 2 Nepali and 2 international. I think you're going to get the 2 international one, but the Nepali one could be a tricky one.
Okay. The intellect is lacking here.
So this is the first guy.
I think he's Nepali, isn't he? Yeah. Is he like an old king?
Similar.
I wouldn't even know what to. Yeah, go. Or Nepal go.
Nepal. Looks like that.
Is that Prithvi Narayan sir?
Nah. Kind of looks like him, but nah.
I don't know, sorry.
Vincent Thapa.
Oh, you were close though, bro.
Cool.
It's Amar Singh Thapa.
Amar Singh Thapa.
I don't want to show the picture, but I can't forget my name. I forgot to bring my notes.
That's not good.
No, I will just show a picture.
I know who that is, man.
Oh my god. Who is that? I have no idea.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes,
Nepali.
Yes. He's a Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So one is this guy.
Oh, Nelson.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela.
He's a person that I really, really admire.
Yeah.
And I think you guys might get the person name.
Huh? Harry Kane.
Harry Kane, but
nah, so she's the one.
Oh.
She's a mother.
She's Mother Teresa, no?
Yeah,
the good old Mother Teresa. I think she's the ultimate example of like putting her ego aside to help others.
Exactly. Yeah, you smashed it.
Yeah, I know I did, apart from the Nepali ones.
Yeah, I think that's a tricky one. The thing is that even the pictures is like not an actual picture. It's like a drawing, a blurry one. So yeah. And to be honest, if I wouldn't have done my research, and
you wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't known. Exactly. So to prepare for this, I had a look and did some research and came up with. Bishal would have popped that picture, I would have never.
You wouldn't have known, yes. I think we all need to educate ourselves on Nepali history.
Exactly.
Because history here we learn about like British history, so we need to educate ourselves on Nepali history.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I love that. I learned something new as well.
Exactly. Every day we learn.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you, Day. Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure. I enjoyed this a lot. So thank you, Day. Thanks. Yay. Bye-bye.
We're close.
Oh my God, so hot.